1045 The Team, your home for New York Yankees baseball. And thanks to our friends at Tech East Fire and Water Restoration, your best way back to normal. You can visit them online at tefirewater.com. Our buddy Buster Olney joins us right now. Now, Buster, this is going to shock you, but I am arguing with Yankee fans. They are like freaking out because the team is 79-47. Like, what do they want?
So let me get this straight. You are the calm one in the conversation. You're telling me that you're the measured old soul who's saying, "Don't worry, be happy."
Yes, and no one's more shocked than me.
Well, you know what? Because your position is the right position to have at this point, because the reality of the standings is what it is, right? You're 9 games out. There's no point in worrying about anything until you get to the wild card game. By then, they'll have Aaron Judge back. By then, they're going to have Gary Sanchez back, who apparently looks to be in great shape. On our conference call that we have for Sunday Night Baseball every week, Alex Rodriguez mentioned that he was just around the team, and that's what he's hearing. By then, maybe Aroldis Chapman comes back, and those guys, some of them at least, will have played and trying to get back into shape. The Yankees don't have their complete team right now, and there's no point in rushing anybody back. You might as well just tell everyone to make sure you're healthy.
Buster, is this like last night? A lot of people are going after Boone for leaving Lance Lynn in too long. Is that a byproduct of all these injuries and the bullpen being used too much?
I haven't asked Booney that question directly about that decision that he did it. I think the one thing about Lance Lynn that he's demonstrated since he joined the team, he's just someone who engenders trust, and maybe that's part of it. But I agree with you 100%, believe it or not, shockingly. In fact, I might just have to quit my job in the business. But I don't think you can overreact to anything right now if you're the Red Sox, if you're the Yankees, or if you're the Indians, because there's not any pressure on you. We kind of know what's going to happen with these teams going into October. The biggest thing is to make sure you're getting right before we get started. So
just to sum it up, pump the brakes. Everybody's going to come back when they're ready. The only time you would see them rushing.
And then you can panic.
Okay,
right?
All right.
If Aaron Judge comes back and he doesn't hit it all and they get knocked out in the playoff game, then it's time to panic.
Okay, you'll get a crying phone call from me at like 10:30 at night. Be ready.
Same with
there you go.
Yeah, same with the bullpen too, right? Although Aroldis Chapman goes to the DL and they got guys like Canely and others, no need to panic for a guy like Chapman either.
I don't know if panic's the right word. I do think there is some extra concern there in regards to this. Look, Aroldis Chapman is someone, when you're around the Yankees, other players look at him as just being this beast. He's massive, and how often have we seen the last few years left-handed pitchers who have problem with the land knee in their pitching motion? We see it with CC Sabathia. We see it with Andrew Miller. I do think that probably is a concern moving forward, especially because he's not someone who typically complains. But the other night, when he came out of the game, he beckoned the folks in the dugout, like, okay, I've got a problem. I need to come out. That makes me wonder. Here's the thing, though, for the Yankees, is that you have all these safety nets in place with the bullpen.
Buster Olney with us right now, thanks to our friends at Tech East Fire and Water Restoration. So, Buster, switching speeds going over to the Mets. Is Jacob deGrom going to lose out in the Cy Young because how bad that team is?
No, I don't think so. I think he is the front runner to win the award. I had conversations, Dave Island and Mickey Callaway, when I saw them in Williamsport, and they both acknowledged they are really going to work like crazy to help Jacob deGrom win this award. They're going to have him pitch, and not to say that they're going to lose their minds and have him throw 135 pitches per start, but they're going to give him an opportunity to pitch. They're basically going to lay out the schedule, 5 games, and if he feels a little tired, they'll build in an extra day. The rest of the team, the rest of the staff really is going to be built around deGrom and their efforts to win the Cy Young Award, and he has earned that absolutely.
Also in the NL East, the white flag is being waved by the Washington Nationals. Guys are on the move, but there's something going on with the waiver wire and Bryce Harper. Can you kind of help us decode what's going on there?
Well, Bryce Harper was claimed on waivers by the Dodgers. The two teams couldn't work out a trade, and so the Nationals pulled him back, which guarantees that Bryce is going to finish the year with the Nationals. For me, that is less confusing. That whole waiver process is less confusing than why the Nationals aren't better. When you look at the decisions that they made, on July 1st, they're 5.5 games out, and they decide to go for it. And I know from talking with executives with other teams, 3 weeks later, they're 7.5 out, and they decide to put Daniel Murphy and Matt Adams and Bryce Harper on waivers and wave the white flag. Why not wait another week? Why not wait another 9 days, especially as they were, getting ready to start a season against one of the teams or series against one of the teams that they're chasing in the Philadelphia Phillies. That didn't make any sense to say in July that you're going to go for it and then to dump two relievers, Brandon Kinsler, in a trade because they perceived that he was a clubhouse mole for some stories that were written, and then Sean Kelly, who they were upset about because of a glare into the dugout. There's just so many things that the Nationals do that don't make sense. And if I run the Nationals, I would ask an assistant GM to generate a really a dead honest report about what's going on with the clubhouse, because it has seemed like the last 4 or 5 years like this is a team that perpetually underachieves.
Yeah, I mean, it's the weirdest thing. Like, obviously I agree with you, Buster. I picked them to be in the World Series.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm looking at, like, what they're moving, and I'm like, you still have so much talent. Like, if you're really selling, why not sell one big name and completely replenish your farm system? I agree. And if you look, the fact that they were willing to move Murphy and were willing to move Adams, well, okay, if you're blowing up your season, then trade everybody who's not locked down. And Bryce Harper's a free agent at year's end. And we know this about Bryce, his agent, Scott Boras. When Scott Boras, his clients go into free agency, what do they always do? Get the
they always
most
take
money.
The biggest offer. And so if you know that about him and you are going to try to re-sign Bryce, then you can basically say, okay, Bryce, here's the deal. We're going to trade you now. We're going to replenish the farm system. We're going to add some assets. In the winter, we're going to be back to you. And you know that if you make the biggest offer to he and to Scott Boras, you're going to get the player back. So I don't, that is one of about a billion questions that I have about the way that the Nationals have conducted their business this year.
So the Nationals aren't good. The Dodgers wanted Harper. They couldn't figure out a trade. There's so much going on in the National League. Do we know who the best team is right now in the entire National League?
No, I tell you what, it's wide open. And full disclosure, as we mentioned, I picked the Nationals to represent the league. So what credibility do I have among the teams now that lead the divisions and among the National League contenders? I just have a feeling about the Diamondbacks. They're the best defensive team in baseball. Paul Goldschmidt's been playing great. Their first baseman. They've got some good starting pitchers between Zach Greinke. Patrick Corbin, future Yankee Patrick Corbin.
Thank you.
Levack, I said that for you.
Yes, thank you.
And, the general mediocrity of the National League versus the superpowers that we have in the American League, I get the feeling the Diamondbacks will win the honor of going to the World Series and getting blown out by the American League team.
Buster, let's talk about fun stuff. How great did Major League Baseball handle the Little League World Series so far?
Loved it. And it wasn't only Major League Baseball has come up with a great event, but the event and the reason why that's great and everything's going on with Little League World Series, Little League Classic is great because the players buy in. And you guys probably saw the images the other day of the Little Leaguers waiting at the airport for the arrival of the Phillies and the Mets, and the Phillies and the Mets players, just jumping on board. The best example that I can give you is Rhys Hoskins, who when he gets on the bus, and Tim Kirkchin tells a story about how one of the Little Leaguers said, "Hey, I'm a great dancer," and so Rhys is like, "What do you got? Show us." And then later when he gets to the park, Rhys Hoskins finds Big Al, who loves dingers. The Little Leaguer who's become an icon, and Rhys tapes a message with him with Big Al behind him and says, "This is what Big Al and I love." And you have Big Al say behind him on the video, "Dingers." And then at the end of this long day that the Phillies and the Nationals had, or Phillies and the Mets had, I was watching the Phillies that came off after a disappointing loss to the Mets, and who was the last player off? Rhys Hoskins. And there's a group of about 10 Little Leaguers calling out to him, "Rhys!" And Rhys puts down his stuff, his bat, his glove, and signs all the autographs for all the kids in front of him. I thought he and other guys did such a great job.
Now, Players Weekend is this weekend. Can I get you to wear a Busta Rhymes jersey this weekend?
No, I had, and that's actually, geez, I wish I'd talked to you before. We had our uniforms put together. They asked us to generate one for last weekend, and, they said with your nickname on the back. That would have been a great one, Busta Rhymes, because when I covered the 98 Yankees, Homer Bush, whenever I walked in the clubhouse, that's what he would yell at me, Busta Rhymes. Every time, that would have been more imaginative, but I just went with Buster because that's my nickname. It's not my given name, and I've had it since my first day.
Oh, man, I would have loved to see you cover because this Sunday you're at Yankees-Orioles. You in a Busta Rhymes New York Yankees jersey would have been perfect.
Man, that would have been awesome. You know what? I might have to reach out to someone if I'm part of the Little League Classic next week or next year.
I made friends. I know.
Yeah,
I know.
very good.
We've agreed like 4 times today, Buster, just to point that out.
Yeah,
Whatever. We need to end this then.
Buster, are there be any Oriole fans at Yankees-Orioles this weekend?
Gauze, are you going to go?
No.
Okay, well then no.
But there'll be the most people you've seen all season. So it'll be.
Maybe we should have the interview. Maybe I shouldn't ask it. Goodbye, Buster.
Buster, man, we appreciate you. Can't wait to talk to you next week.
All right, guys.